Okay, if you are willing to be recorded, please go ahead and opt in. Hello, everyone. I'm Brandy Nagel. Today we are going to be talking about the business model canvas and building your food business. I would like to encourage you to turn your cameras on if it's easy for you, if that's possible. Having cameras on gives us a better sense of community, and it is a way of building trust, actually, when we can see people's faces. However, I understand that sometimes it's uncomfortable or it's distracting to have the camera on, or sometimes you're in a place where it's just not easy to have the camera on. So it's okay, whatever works for you. I would like to highlight the chat and make sure that everyone knows where it's at. You can use the chat to ask questions, to make comments. And you can also raise your hand. I just raised my hand. And across the top, you can use the reaction button. So there are I've got my hand raised. And I'm going to do a little heart now to match my shirt. Hey, Ed, I've got a little bit of background noise from you. Can you turn your microphone off? Yep, that's where it was from. So if everyone would do me a quick favor across the top, well, for me, it's across the top. Everyone raise your hand through the app. Yep, there we go. And then click it again to lower your hand. Great. And then everybody do a react. I just did the heart. You can do applause. You can do the surprised face. Yep, there we go. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I don't see that. Where is it?
Do you have it across the top where it says chat, raise, react? No. Are you on your phone or on a computer?
Phone. I couldn't get in on my computer.
Okay, it probably does not show on your phone the same way it does on a computer.
Okay.
You have to click the three dots. Click the three dots and you'll find it.
Oh, there it is. Okay, got it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Brandy, I have a question. I'm not sure if anyone else is having this issue, but for me, it says chat isn't available due to org policy. The admin has turned off the chat for external people.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. Let's fix that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was just on my end or is everybody seeing that too?
Engagement.
Yeah, I tried to log in from my phone, but it wouldn't allow me to, so I had to pull out my laptop.
Okay. Can someone try the chat again? Okay. Works for Keisha. I don't know if it'll work for everyone. It may depend upon your phone or laptop or something.
Yeah, it's still not working for me, but that's fine.
Okay. So if your chat is not working, then you're just going to have to unmute and say, hey, Brandy, I've got a question.
Yep.
And that's perfectly okay.
For me, it's saying enter a name, email, group, or tag.
Wow. I've never heard that before, Sugar Daddy. Okay.
We ran into this issue, Brandy, last week on the another class from Georgia Tech, and it basically what they said was when you use Teams, there's some kind of policy with Georgia Tech now that you have to give permission in order to display your email address, and that permission has to be given before you could use chat. It was this whole big to do, and she had to send out this email that you had to reply yes, and then she had to go back in and then add your name to a particular list. It took up 10 minutes of the call.
Wow. Okay. I do have a note that some options may be locked, and I know that's what that's referring to. Okay, Sugar Daddy, do you have your hand up?
No, let me take that down.
Okay. And Miss Nikki, your hand is up? Oh no, you're good. Okay. All right, so I know some of you have background noise. If you'll just keep yourselves on mute when you're not talking, and then when you want to talk, you can either raise your hand and I'll see it, or just come off mute and say, hey, Brandy, whatever's easiest. And I love to have cameras on because it helps me as an instructor, but if that's not possible, I understand. So I think all of you know about our website, and most or all of you know about Slack. If you are not on Slack, please join, because we are posting all kinds of information. And this is what it looks like. I've seen Slack before. This is where we have the general discussion, and you can ask questions. You can also reach out directly, like to Aubrey, and just ask Aubrey a question. It really cuts down on email. And Aubrey and I have Slack open all day, every day. So that is the fastest way to get a response from us. Okay, we're going to talk about the business model canvas today as it relates to food and beverage specific. So this is how it always begins, right? It starts with a recipe and you make it for a few people and everyone's like, oh my God, you should be selling this. This is so good. And then you've got that recipe that you think is just fantastic. And so you've made it for a gazillion people. Everyone loves it. It's delicious. So you think, all right, how hard could it be? You sit down one day and you start to write it up and you're thinking, okay, I could like do this and I could do that. And you think about the recipe. How do you scale up the recipe? And so you do some work on it. And then you talk to your next door neighbor's best friend who used to work at Coca-Cola or something, you know, who has knowledge. And then you do a pop-up in Ponce City Market and everybody loves it. This is exciting, right? And then you start talking to someone who wants to buy from you. They want to buy big orders. That's exciting. And you do sampling and everyone is coming to sample your product and they all love it. And then you get a fancy new kitchen. Woohoo, this is fantastic. You got the fancy new kitchen. Look how gorgeous that is. And then Pinky Cole says how much she likes your product. Love Pinky Cole. And then the New York Times is writing about you and saying that how fantastic you are. And then this guy drops a verse and he mentions you in the second verse and says how great your product is. And then scouts are coming from Whole Foods Market and they're like snooping around asking you, hey, what's it going to take for you to be on the shelves? And you're like, yes, this is fantastic. You got a CFO. She's your cousin, but that's great. She majored in finance. Then Oprah says you are one of her favorite things. Oh my God. And then money is falling out of the sky. It's insane. You are just going to buy the car with the doors that go up and out because, yes. No, this is never how it works out. Thank you, Sugar Daddy, for the smiley face. This is not how it works. Being a food entrepreneur, it is hard work. It is a lot of hours. At the beginning, there is almost no money in it. And about half of them fail in the first year. These are the statistics. It's not very encouraging. The math is bad, but we know a better way. So what we're doing here in this program is we're taking the idea of lean startup, which came out of Silicon Valley for high-tech startups, and we're applying it to food and beverage. So here are 3 reasons, and I know some of y'all have already heard this, but it needs repeating. Here are 3 reasons why food and beverage businesses fail. The first reason is because it's a Me Too product. You're not any different from the competition. You're just like everybody else. There's no gap in the market. You're just introducing something that's already out there. That's bad. Second thing is you've got no plan at all. Now, I know almost all of you have a plan. For some of you, it is more detailed than for others. That's perfectly okay. In the next few weeks, we'll be making a business model canvas, which is the beginning of your plan. And then the third reason why food businesses fail is because they don't have repeat business. You have to have repeat business. You cannot keep selling one thing at a time, one cookie at a time, one lemonade at a time. You cannot keep doing it one at a time. You've got to have repeat business or you'll go broke tired, y'all. The lean startup, this concept that we're taking from Silicon Valley, it reduces the risk of failure because it helps you to understand your customer better than the competition does. So the competition is out there, they're just doing their thing. And then you come in and you understand your customers. That means the products that you offer, the places that you sell, the prices that you charge, everything is informed by the customer, which brings your risk way, way, way down. And then because you understand your customer, when you've got new ideas come in, you can think about, is this what my customer wants or is that what my customer wants? You can make better decisions about the future of your business. The old way of thinking is you write a business plan, you make a delicious food, you're golden. And that's not what we think now. The old way of thinking is you write this 30-page business plan, blah, blah, blah. It has all these charts and graphs in it, and that's not what we think about now. Plans are important, particularly for big, big companies, because they are all about execution. That's all they have to do. But for you, as you are a younger company, you are still establishing your market, expanding product lines, finding new ways to sell. The business plan is not the complete package. And making a delicious product is not enough. We have two tools we're going to talk about. Today, we will talk about business model canvas, and specifically for food and beverage. And then 2 weeks from today, we'll talk about customer discovery. These are the two books that started it all. That business model generation is the one that if you're a person who loves reading, that's the one you should read. Let me get it off my bookshelf. This, I'm going to show you. This book, it has pictures, drawings. This is the one that you want to read. And you don't even have to read it beginning to end, because you can go to the back. Oh, it doesn't have the index at the very, very back. It has it a couple of pages in. So I always struggle to find it. I need to put a bookmark right there. You could say, what's the business model canvas for such and such? And if it's in the book, then it's going to say, go to page 89. There you go, right there. This is visually interesting. This is good for people who struggle, who don't love reading. If you have dyslexia or some other reading difficulty, if you have ADHD, this book is designed to be interesting to read. This will capture your attention. The other one, The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, is boring. It's on my shelf because I have to have it. It's the thought leadership. It's what started this whole movement, but it's a boring book. So don't read that one. I just have to put it on the screen to give them credit for all the hard work that they did. Business model generation is where we got the business model canvas. If you would like to play along, I have two options for you. You can Google business model canvas editable. You could do it right now, and it will come up as a Miro board, as a Word document, as a PowerPoint, bunch of different versions, and you can pick the one that you like. But Ed Bauer just found for me last week one that I really like, and that is one in Excel. And I've just started to play around with it to make it customized to food and beverage. And that is posted on the Slack channel. And let me see where it is in the Slack channel, because I don't remember. I posted it last week. Hang on, let me look here. It's in general discussion. Let me repost this. Hang on. Okay, it's in the general discussion. I just reposted it. And it is an editable Excel spreadsheet. And it's got just a few things in it that make it specific to food and beverage. And let me share again. Let me get back over there. Here we go. Okay. So this is the business model canvas. This is what it looks like blank. This version, you see, it has in each box, it has a bunch of little squiggly words. And that's for the general idea of business. The one that I'm making available to you is more specific to food and beverage. It includes things like under cost structure, ingredients and packaging, things like that, that the general business one does not include. So this is how we use the business model canvas. We start with guesses, these things that we think are true. And then we go and we ask a bunch of questions. We're trying to understand who's the customer and what do they really want or need and who's going to pay for it. Is the person who buys the same person as the person who eats it or drinks it? What do we need to be successful? How do we prioritize all this stuff? As we get answers to these questions, we get data. And that data is what helps us create a business model. We start with customer segments. And I've seen a couple of business model canvases from a couple of people in the room. So here's what I want to start with. Customer segments are always people. So that's your first reality check. It is a person. And I'll give you a couple of examples. My customer segment could be parents with picky eaters, children who are picky eaters between the ages of 2 and 10 years old. My customers are people who own dogs and travel extensively through the Atlanta airport. My customers are people who love fresh and preservative-free foods and drinks. My customers are people who work out more than 3 times a week. My customers are people who eat a plant-based diet. My customers are people who love traditional Southern cooking. I'm just looking around and thinking about some of your foods and who your customer segment might be. Now that's the person who's going to actually eat it or drink it. That is not all of your customers. Some of you are selling to distributors, in which case you are selling to a reseller. And that reseller is often a buyer for a retail location or some kind of a retail outlet. So then think about that person as my customer is a buyer for Whole Foods in such and such category. My customer is the buyer for Publix or Kroger or whatever. My customer segment is the buyer at Lucy's Market. My customer segment is the buyer at the military bases. Sometimes you mention the channel or the location when you're describing your customer. That's okay. That's not bad. What questions do you have about customer segments? This would be a good place to like raise your hand or come off mute.
Hey, it's Charlotte. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm not on here. My video was messing with me. But the fact that I have a like a unique product, I'm constantly gathering who my customer is.
Good.
Because they don't know what it is until they see me. So we're constantly trying to gather who those people are. Now, when it comes to a business plan and you're trying to I guess, figure out, there's certain parts of it that I know are standard. Okay. So we know we're moving in a manufacturing direction and all that goodness. But then when you've got brand new product, how important is it to gather a think tank? Because I know you can do it all by yourself. Okay. But I'm at a point now where I'm gathering and networking. I'm gathering think tank people to come along on this ride with me to
Yeah.
help me understand what exactly I need in order to create this business plan. Because again, even with the manufacturing, there's going to be some parts in it that don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
So can you speak to, how we go about pulling knowledgeable people in to help us along the way?
Yeah, I will talk about it just for a moment
Okay.
because it's not our hot topic today, but this is really important.
Mhm.
How many of you have a board of advisors, like an informal board of advisors for your business?
Mhm.
Nikki, that's the only hand I see up. And Teresa and Ruth. Okay, all of you should have a board of advisors. It can be informal. They may not pay anything. Oh, Eric does, Miss Nikki does. Okay. It can be absolutely informal. It can be people who are experts in the field or people who are retired from the industry. It probably should not be all family and friends. Although if you've got a supportive family or friend member, that's okay. A family member or friend, that's okay. You can raise your hands if you don't have or you can lower your hands if you don't have a question. But Charlotte, I think there's something else maybe behind your question. And that is what I heard you say is you are continuing to innovate and create new products, right?
Right. But one specific that, we know is unique, that's the one that we're focused on now. I'm just laser beaming my energy to that right now.
So I think part of your customer segment is people who value innovative new products. Like innovation is probably one of your value propositions.
Yeah.
That you continue to create something new and interesting. Where some of the
Right.
other folks on the call, their value proposition is consistency.
Mhm.
So everyone should have an advisory board. It can be as little as 3 people. It probably should not be more than 7 people. And these are folks that you can call on and say, here's what I'm thinking. Can you give me some feedback? Or you can just call them with a question.
Okay.
In the near future, we will launch for the accelerator companies a mentoring program, and y'all will be matched with mentors, but that will not be for the incubator companies yet. Incubator companies will get it soon, but not at first. I need to practice with the accelerators and get it launched. Teresa, did you have your hand up with a question or was it up from something else?
No, I can kind of understand though where Charlotte is coming from because we're very consistent with the catering part of our business. And that's what some people don't understand. Like, we have a food truck, that's one business, catering, that's another business, manufacturing, that's a completely different avenue. So most of our board members were upon us launching into retail with the packaging and licensing and compliance. But when it comes to like the manufacturing and expanding to all these new relationships, like the Walmart who's reaching out to us, like, are you ready for July? No, I ain't ready for July. I still need to figure out how to get a conveyor belt. Like I'm on basic 101. Of course, I can't tell my buyer that, but
I like
but
that reality.
Right. So I do understand when you talk about like the consistency, but when you're growing and you're growing in a different sector of your business, it's almost like you're introducing a whole new business. That's the only way really for us in particular to expand. So I feel you, Charlotte, on the part of not knowing and very ignorant to the manufacturing side, because it is developing a new brand within a brand.
Now, you could use this business model canvas for each one of these different parts of your business. So some of you are doing a cart or a food truck. That might be a business model all on its own. And then some of you have a brick and mortar or something where you're selling, you could do one just for farmers markets because you're reaching different people and each one has a little bit different requirements, right? So and I've talked with a couple of you, some of you are doing 2 or 3 different business model canvases and you're looking to see how do they overlap? Because sometimes there's big differences, sometimes there's small differences. Okay, let me go back for a minute. So customers are always people. I've seen a couple of early stage business model canvases from y'all, and there's things in that customer segment that are not people. And I want to pull out my red pen and say, no, 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 take those out. Just focus on this one because this is a person. So these are people. And in food and beverage, there's 2 ways to think about it. There's the resellers. That's the people who are going to buy and resell your product. And then there's the people who are buying direct for themselves or their family. So resellers, we talked about like grocery, Whole Foods and Kroger and all that. But other resellers could be people like event planners, corporate gifts. That's all I got. There must be others. Keisha from Good Boy Goodies. Who's a good example of a customer for you? Because you have a non-human food. Who's a typical customer for Good Boy Goodies?
Right now we're working with the GDOT, which is the Georgia Department of Transportation for rest stops.
So who's the person? Like, what's the job title?
Oh, what is his title? He's over facilities.
So like a facilities manager for Georgia Department of Transportation in charge of rest stops. For those of you who want to sell into the airport, there's going to be someone who's in charge of either vending at the airport or food and beverage services at the airport. If you wanted to sell exclusively into bars, although we don't have any alcohol in the program, some of you have products that would be sold in a bar, then it might be an executive chef for a restaurant or someone who's responsible for buying for that bar. Okay, so customer segments, 2 categories, just in summary, 2 categories. People who buy direct for themselves, they're going to consume it, or their immediate family. And then the other category is resellers. Sometimes you have to you have to talk to a reseller or a gatekeeper before you can get to direct. So when you go to festivals, you have to convince the festival manager that you are allowed in, and then you're allowed to sell directly to people. Any questions? This is the single most important part of the business model canvas.
Can you repeat you said the people that you might want to get in contact with for like the airport and stuff like that. Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so airport might be food services, the food services manager at the airport, or it may be the person in charge of vending at the airport. Keisha, please.
Concessions manager, if you want to do
Concessions manager.
concessions.
Sorry, I couldn't think of the right word. Concessions manager. That's the right word.
Thank you so much for that information.
You are welcome. All right, so let's look at the next slide. I stopped sharing. I'm going to share again. The reason why the business model canvas is on the right and instead of, I'm sorry, the reason why customer segments are all the way on the right and not like upper left where we typically start reading is because the entire canvas is pushing us towards customers. So it is the number one most important thing. And what we're looking for is not like people who love my food are my customers. That's not right. Saying people who eat or people who drink. No, that's not it. People who are hungry, people who are thirsty. No, that's not it. We're looking for something specific that defines them. it can be a job title if it's for resellers, or we're looking for something about that person. So the person in the house who's responsible for buying all the groceries. And then something else about them might be they value country food, or they value traditional food. They value sugar-free. They value gluten-free. They value low-calorie options. They value stuff made with no preservatives, or they value things without a lot of nonsense said about them. In one of our first sessions, this was like on the 3rd day of January, I think it was Cornbread Sisters, but I'm not sure if I remember right. Someone said, there's a whole bunch of clean food in this room, but I'm telling you, someone is eating the calories. Someone is eating the sugar and the salt. So for every product that we have out there that's clean, gluten-free, soy-free, all of that, there is a market for it. And there is also a market for the stuff that is more traditional food and doesn't have a focus on clean and all. And I like both, actually. I like both. Okay. Who is your customer? So this is, I'm gonna click on this point one more time. Who buys the product and who consumes the product? Is it parents buying for children? Is it dog owners buying for the dog? Who buys it and who consumes it? Think about it these two ways. And then if you end up with a long list, then you have to decide who are your most important customers. Who's the one you want to focus on first? Because you cannot, as a business owner, you cannot focus on 10 customer segments. You may have 10 customer segments, but you can't focus on 10 at a time. Pick 1 or 2 to focus on. Now, the next question is, what does your customer value? And this is why I say being delicious is not enough. There's something else that people value. There's some other emotion. And the best practice is to say this the way that your customer would say it, which might be something like, the customer may say, I really want a beverage after I work out. I want a beverage that's going to help me to feel, quench my thirst, but also help me with my cognitive clarity. Because after I work out, I bonk and I feel tired and exhausted and I'm not as clear-headed. Or it may be, I want to eat food that reminds me of home. I'm thinking about Miss Nikki and her Nigerian stew. I want food that I can put together quick because I am busy and I just want a warm meal for my family. Or I want to buy foods that make me feel fabulous. A lot of this is emotional. A lot of this is emotional. Your best practice is to say it as your customer would say it. And there may be a couple of things, like if they drink your beverage, then they may say, I love the taste, but I love also that it's made from local produce. They may say, I love the taste. It reminds me of my grandmother's cooking. Yes, Miss Charlotte.
So looking at the information that we're gathering to really hone in on who our customer is, should we look at something like this to build a survey? So when we're in, typically I'm at a market or a festival or something like that, and I've got the good majority of the kind of customer that would be a direct retail customer in front of me.
Yes.
And so should we look at this to build a survey to just kind of give some incentive? Hey, get 10% off if you fill out the survey, that kind of stuff. You
can definitely do that. I think that is the quick and easy way to do it. You may not get the richest answers.
Yeah.
But that is a quick and easy way to gather some data. And then 2 weeks from today, we'll talk about using surveys and asking questions so you get as much information as possible. But definitely, when you've got a couple of customers in front of you, you can ask them a few questions just like that. And some of the questions are really simple and easy for them to answer. It's nothing intrusive, and it doesn't feel salesy at all. So we'll talk more about that in 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right, now the next thing I want to talk about is the channels, and we've touched on this already. Are you going to sell at farmers markets, e-commerce? You can have your own website. Are you going to sell on Amazon? Are you going to actually go to local stores and drop off product? Are you going to sell at festivals? Vending machines, there are so many different places to sell. The question is, where is your customer and where does your customer want to buy it from? And so I'm going to highlight there are lots of different kinds of farmers markets in Georgia. There are some that are out in the more rural parts of the state that's close to where the products are grown. And those farmers markets tend to have a lot of fruits and vegetables. And you can get really good prices there. But if you go to Alpharetta Farmers Market, it's $12 for a bar of soap. Not all farmers markets are the same. So when you say farmers market, be a little bit more specific. Or you could just say, I want to sell at retail. Well, Sprouts is not the same as Publix. So be a little bit more specific. You don't have to have every detail, but you can just use a few words to be more specific. So if you are selling a premium product, and some of you are, then you may want to put in your channel high-end grocery stores or high-end retail stores such as in the state of Georgia. If you have a cottage license, you're only allowed to sell in the state of Georgia. Or if you are doing co-packing, co-manufacturing, then you may say regionally or nationwide or whatever. Your channel is where that transaction happens. Where does the customer want to go to make the purchase? Do they want to go to a smoothie bar? Or do they want to go to Red Bandana, the place where you get the high-end dog food? Maybe you don't want to go where everyone else is selling similar products. Maybe you want to go to a different distribution channel. Channels often gets mixed up with customer relationships right above. And so I want to give you a couple of clues to help remember the difference. Channels is distribution channels. And there's a little tiny drawing of a truck in that corner, the upper right corner of this square. So that's how you know this is about distribution. Where do people go to make the purchase? And it can be online, in person, subscription, lots of different options. Right above it is customer relationships, and it's got a heart. You all see I'm wearing my heart sweater today. Customer relationships, this is sales and marketing. This is how are you going to get customers? That's advertising and sales and marketing. How will you keep their business? That's customer loyalty, customer retention, customer service. And then how will you grow your relationship with them? Growing your relationship with them sometimes includes securing repeat business, but it might also mean adding on new products, selling in new places, offering services to go with your products. So get, keep, and grow. And I've highlighted those in bold so that they stand out. Customer relationships, heart, and it's even in the heart position on the canvas. Customer relationships, sales and marketing, get, keep, grow. And then down across the bottom is the money. How will I make money? For most of you, this is asset sales or product sales. You're just going to sell your product. For some of you, you've talked about doing a subscription, slightly different. And for a very few of you, you've talked about doing a white label product. Those are all different ways to think about revenue streams.
Could you repeat those one more time?
Yes, different revenue streams include selling the product, white label, which means just selling it without your brand attached, so someone else can put their brand on it. I forgot what else I said. Let me see if I've got the transcript going. Hang on.
I know you said subscriptions. I got
The
that.
product sales, subscriptions, and white label.
Product sales, subscriptions, which is good repeat business, right? And that could be for a consumer buying it for their family, that they want a delivery every week or every month. But subscription could also be for an office place. They want a delivery of cookies every third Thursday because that's when their department meeting is. And then white label is someone else is going to put their brand on it. You're just going to make the product. Are there more questions about that? Okay. This is what we call the front side of the business. This is the part that faces the customer. The back side of the business at this moment is a little bit less important. And the reason why is because you've got to get the customer segment and the value proposition. You've got to get those two things figured out. Once you've got those figured out, then everything else is much easier. I'm going to go through the rest of the can. Know what it is. Your key resources are things like your formulation and your recipe, your brand, your laptop and phone, your kitchen equipment. Your key activities are things like sales and marketing, taking care of your customers. Key activities also include sending invoices and collecting on past due invoices and paying your own bills. Key activities include business development, product development. Partners includes Georgia Tech Food and Beverage Accelerator, your co-packer, the person who helps you with designing your packaging. Your key suppliers are often key partners because you just can't do the business without them. And then down here, what are your most important costs? And it's not a huge box, so you wouldn't list every single cost in there, but you would say like costs of goods sold. What does it cost to make the product? And then you may include or utilities, licensing and registration fees for cottage license and retail sales license. So there's a reason why the boxes are organized a particular way, and it's because of the relationships between them. So I'm going to go through it a second time so you can see the relationships. This helps people who think a different way, a specific way, to make sense of it. So some people, I can show them the boxes and they get it. Some people, if I show them the boxes, they're like, those are just boxes. I don't understand why you have boxes. Why not make it just a list and fill in the blanks? But there's a relationship between these things. So customer segments and value propositions. That's who wants your product and why they want it. That's product market fit. That's the most important thing to figure out. And the thing why some food businesses fail is because nobody wants the product. We say it's not enough to be delicious, but in fact, it does have to be delicious. So some food businesses fail because the product just does not appeal to enough people. Channel is how you deliver the value to the customer. That means the place where people go to buy it or the place where the transaction happens. The key resources and the key activities, these are the things you do to deliver value to the customer. Partners help you do the things that you can't do, or partners help provide resources that you don't have. Your key activities and your key resources will drive all of your costs. Customers will give you all of your revenue. And the customer relationship is the engine that drives your business, the sales and marketing. How are you going to get customers? How will you keep customers? And how will you grow your business with your customers? So you start with all of these guesses. You go out, you ask a lot of questions, which we'll talk about in 2 weeks. And you replace those guesses with data. Now you know. Ruth, you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question. So I do have a co-packer, and would my co-packer be considered a key partner or a key resource or both?
It can be both. I'm going to say key partner because they do something that you cannot easily do on your own, right?
Right.
That's
Okay, that's what I thought.
yeah, that's a really good example of a partner, is that you yourself can't do it or you don't want to do it. So when my husband and I owned our own business, we did not want to deal with the legal. We just weren't qualified to deal with legal contracts. So we had a lawyer who did that for us. That lawyer was a key partner. We could not run the business without him.
Okay.
But it was also reasonable to say one of our key activities was reviewing contracts.
Right.
What other questions do you have, good people? Miss Charlotte.
So in the midst of this, is marketing at all considered in this?
Yep, marketing is part
'Cause-
of customer relationships.
Okay.
It is how you would get customers
Right.
in that get, keep, grow.
Okay. All right. So I'm just saying, does the marketing get blown up in this as well? Do we do a deep dive into how we're marketing?
Aubrey is more knowledgeable than I am in the specifics of marketing for food and beverage. I'm a good generalist.
Mm-hmm.
But how I think of this also is when you have a complete business model canvas, you
Yeah.
can hand it to most marketers and they'll go, this is everything I need to know.
Okay.
Because they'll know, here's the target audience.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the distribution channels. Here's what people value.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we're offering. And in fact, when I was freelancing as a marketer, I had, I'll tell the short version of this. I had a person approach me who had a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he explained it to me, I kept thinking, there's just no way he can make money. Like there was no way to make money. There was no revenue in it. And I just couldn't figure it out. And we'd met 2 or 3 times and he was asking to like hire me as a freelancer or hire me part-time. So we sat down with a business model canvas and I just kept asking him questions and I filled it all out. And at the end, I could confirm there was no way for him to make money. He had no revenue model. And so I could turn down that job with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone thinks about the business model canvas the way I do. I know that because when I walk into a store, like I have the heads up display in my mind and I start populating and figuring
Mm-hmm.
out how do
Mm-hmm.
these people make money? What's their value proposition? But that's because I've
Mm-hmm.
been working on it for a while now. But the business model canvas is a really simple language that lots of business people will be able to understand. And although I personally don't have experience in Silicon Valley, what I'm told is that in Silicon Valley, nobody looks at business plans anymore. And if you show up with 30-page business plan, they will not invest in you. They think that's ridiculous. For small businesses and banks, banks may ask for a business plan. They may insist on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to write a business plan, then having a business model is a really easy way to start.
Okay. Okay. And I guess one of the things is, when you're a small business, and especially when you're a creator, you've got a particular product you've created. You're the artist, and you're sensitive about your stuff. So
Yes.
the thing is, you're focused on getting that product out there, making sure that the folks that you have identified as your customer can get them. However, when it comes to marketing, you have to again keep those customers, but also grow. Marketing is key in that, and in many cases, marketing is a very expensive part of a piece of investment for a small business.
Yeah.
So especially when you're looking for someone to really take what you got and run, help you run with it.
Yeah.
So will you at all, if not here within the program at some point, focus on marketing resources as far as tried and true marketing resources that are not going to ask you to, I don't know, mortgage your home in order
Yeah.
to pay for their services? Because if they've got a great reputation, plenty of them are going to ask for a nice chunk of money. So basically what I'm asking is, if that's a key element, does the accelerator offer any insight? Do you partner with folks, students who are about to graduate, who are taking on, projects or any creative means of marketing?
Yeah. We have 2 programs coming up in the next, I'll say in the next 6 weeks, because I think they're in early April. And one is marketing and one is public relations.
Okay. Hand in hand.
I can put you in touch with some resources like students.
Mhm.
But I will tell you, you get what you pay for.
I know.
It's tough.
And see, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a nice little rock and a hard place, because yes, you get what you pay for, but at the same time, what do you have to do to pay for it?
Yeah, I know. In my perfect world, this is not reality, but in my perfect
Mhm.
world, you've got a product, you know who your customer is, and you can start making connections. Aubrey can open doors for you in the industry. I don't have that many connections yet. I'm still developing them because I'm newer into food and beverage.
Mhm.
But I will say we've also had some people reach out to us and say, hey, I heard you're doing this FBA and can we meet some people? I'm like, well, why, yes, I'd be happy to make introductions. We're still
Yeah.
trying to vet some of those conversations and make sure that they are actually
Mhm.
professionals operating in good faith.
Yeah. Because when your hands are in it, you're making a product, you're going out to markets and festivals and whatnot to get it out there and also to make money. So you've got your hands, you've got all 15 of your hands moving,
Yes.
at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's like, how do I creatively market myself? We do creative things. We take video, we post, we get images of the food products so we can put it out there and do ads and all that kind of stuff. So we're doing all the things that we can do without being marketing experts.
Yeah.
But then there's that next level of really taking it
Yeah.
out there. So
Aubrey's going to be better able to give you ideas about that. I know what you're talking about. Sometimes it just takes a leap, right, to get to the next level.
yeah
I know.
yeah
I know.
yeah just that one leap, and then it just magnetizes everything else to it, where
That's right.
you don't have to, again, sell your firstborn or anything
Yeah,
to pay for anything. Yeah.
yeah.
Because
And
she's over there listening, right? My firstborn. No, I'm just kidding.
and
She's,
and I will say, Aubrey and I will never suggest that you spend a boatload of money on things. That is
yeah.
not how our brains work. We're
Yeah. Not
much
really
more
supposed to
interested in what can you get done cheap, small experiments, try little things, try to build
Yeah.
on little things, because
Mhm.
a big bunch of money is a big bet and there's too
Yeah.
much uncertainty. So small, small, small. Okay, I
Yeah.
have just a few more slides I want to show you because I want to end on something funny. This is the Hall of Food Flops. If you have not seen this before, these are products that were introduced into the market that failed. First one is beef lasagna, which is not a problem, but it was branded Colgate. It does not have toothpaste in it. It is not for teeth. It was the Colgate company that was promoting it, Colgate Palmolive. Failure, absolute failure. If they had shown this box to 10 women, if they had just done that, they didn't even have to do market research. They could have just picked up this box, shown it to 10 women, and 9 out of the 10 women would have said, no, Colgate is toothpaste, ick, yuck. Okay. Is anyone old enough to remember purple ketchup? Great.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, hang on. Let me share again. Hang on.
Hey, Brandy, I just want to let you know I have to step out, but
Okay.
I was here for the majority of the meeting, and I have seen this part before, and it is very funny. So please stay tuned, guys.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa. We are recording if you want to see the last few minutes. Sugar Daddy, can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Is anyone old enough to remember purple ketchup? This stuff, it was just ketchup. It was tasted just like ketchup, but it was purple.
I'm probably old enough to remember, but I don't remember that one. Oh
No.
my gosh.
That is so unappealing, right? And then my third one, this was timing, because now
Ooh.
Coors sparkling water might actually be successful. Coors was heavily advertised in the 70s about the quality of their water coming from the Rocky Mountains. But when they put this on the market, we were not all drinking bottled water, and it failed because it read to that audience at that time as beer water, which
They were
does not
before their
sound.
time.
It was ahead of its time.
Mhm.
Okay. What other questions do you have? All right, so I'm going to share with you, here's the concept for the program. On the first Monday of the month, for the next couple of months, we'll do this session. You are welcome to come back anytime. You'll also have the recording and the transcript if you want to just go back and revisit. And you can ask me any question anytime. On the third Monday of most months, we'll do the customer discovery, which is how you ask the questions to make sense of the business model canvas for your business. And then not every single Friday, most Fridays, then we have customer discovery lab. Calvin.
I just wanted to speak on the marketing question. We talk about it afterwards if you want to finish what you're talking about.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say just Charlotte, with doing this customer discovery, we found that some of the earliest people that we talk to have been they really help to propel the marketing message and really get it out there because they're early adopters. So the more customers you talk to, they're like a megaphone to get out there and really talk about, because they're like bought into the product. So starting small, regional, and really building that out can really accelerate, because they all either online or whatever, and if they're really bought into what you're doing, they'll be your biggest megaphone. So really starting small, talking to each individual customer and really dialing in. They're like, I'm bought into this message and what you're doing, and that could just pour gas on, broadening that out. So I just wanted to share that.
And we do see that, you know, because we got plenty of customers that are walking, hey, somebody told me about such and such, you know, and I had to come over here and try it, you know, and we're seeing that happen. You know, it's just such a nice slow motion kind of movement thing, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when you're looking to really